There's a special kind of tragedy in getting exactly what you're afraid of because you are so afraid of getting it. Princess Bubblegum spends 7 seasons trying to protect her kingdom, her people, and herself from every possible threat. She succeeds fantastically. The Candy Kingdom becomes the most technologically advanced and well-defended civilization in Ooo. She also ends up completely alone. The things she was most afraid of losing, stuff like connection, love, and trust, are carefully destroyed with her own hands. By the end of Season 6, she's standing in a room full of surveillance monitors, watching everyone she's supposed to love from behind screens and cameras, isolated by the very systems she built to keep them safe. This is the reality of how Princess Bubblegum built her own prison, going all the way back to the beginning. PB is born from pink gum in a nuclear wasteland. The mother gum, as she calls it, spreads across an abandoned building. When she finally emerges from this mass, along with her brother Nettie, she's alone in a world that's been wiped clean. But Nettie, traumatized by their harsh birth, can barely function, needing constant protection. From that moment on, she takes responsibility to keep Nettie safe. It leads her to creating the Candy Kingdom, or, well, not exactly, at first. Being completely alone in the world with Nettie left her with a longing for connection and family love, so that's where she started. She created Gumbald along with Aunt Lolly and cousin Chicle. But when Gumbald planned to overthrow PB and build his own kingdom, she intervened to stop him, but still continued with his idea to build a kingdom. And for centuries, this works. Along the way, there were always hard choices, of course. PB is not naive about the dangers of her post-apocalyptic world, so she does what she needs to do to keep her people safe. Still, she's fundamentally connected to the people around her. She trusts Finn and Jake. She laughs with Marceline. She seems genuinely happy and caring, not having a second agenda or a desperate need for control, until the Lich. In Mortal Folly, literal evil takes control of her body. She becomes a vessel for something that wants to destroy all life. And even though Finn saves her, something fundamental breaks. Because for the first time, Princess Bubblegum experiences what it's like to be completely powerless, to have someone else control her choices, her actions, her very being. It marked a turning point to the way she ruled her kingdom. She stops saying, "I'll protect what I love," and starts thinking, "I must control everything." The descent happens gradually. At first, you barely notice it until we meet Lemongrab, one of the first candy experiments that went wrong. He talks about how PB made him the way he is, and that his inability to connect with others is PB's fault.
I am alone, and you made me like this! You made me!
Instead of examining why and helping Lemongrab, she creates another Lemongrab to help manage the first one. More control to fix the problems caused by her initial control. During that same episode, we start seeing surveillance equipment everywhere. Cameras in the Banana Guard's quarters, hidden monitors throughout the castle. By burning low, she's casually willing to let people suffocate if it serves the greater good. But the clearest sign of her transformation comes in James. When choosing who to sacrifice, her logic is brutal and simple.
With this sample of James, I can clone a new one. He's Candy, but you're not. I can't clone another you.
James isn't a person to her anymore. He's a replaceable resource. The princess who created life from loneliness now treats that life as disposable, and it only gets worse. The cooler is where Princess Bubblegum's surveillance state reaches its full expression. When we finally see her dedicated monitoring room, there are walls covered in screens watching every corner of Ooo, and she doesn't even try to hide it.
I'm PB. I spy on everybody. No big D.
No shame, no justification to us, just casual admission that she's watching everyone, all the time. She's planted cameras in Cinnamon Bun's face to monitor the Fire Kingdom. She tracks her subjects in their bedrooms. She monitors foreign governments during diplomatic meetings. It's very different to others. While Flame Princess celebrates with her subjects in warmth and community, Princess Bubblegum stands isolated in the cold glow of surveillance screens, watching life instead of living it. When Flame Princess discovers the extent of her spying, the confrontation is devastating.
You are a bad person.
And for the first time in years, Princess Bubblegum sees herself clearly.
I'm not a bad person. I want you to see that.
She pulls the wires out of the surveillance system, locks the door with a sign that says "Do not enter," and walks away from the monitors that had become her window to the world. We see her talk about it in the Pajama War.
Being more are sorta okay with everyone making mistakes around me. Mind my own stuff more. You know what I mean?
Where it feels like she's actually learning and improving. But the relationships, the trust, the connections she'd been watching instead of nurturing, those were already gone. So what did all that protection actually protect? Let's see. In The Nemesis, we discover that Candy Kingdom citizens have formed secret resistance groups. The Veritas Brigade meets in hidden locations to discuss her shady dealings. Their motto? Lux in Tenebris, light in the darkness. Even the silly Candy Kingdom citizens are fighting against dictatorship and oppression and surveillance states. How does PB know this? Well, yet again, Princess Bubblegum watches it all through her cameras, isolated in her castle while her subjects plot against her in her bathroom stalls. When one of the group's members, Peacemaster, talks about eliminating the dark entity plaguing the Candy Kingdom, Princess Bubblegum's immediate assumption is telling. She doesn't wonder who he means. She thinks he's talking about her, of course. The princess who created the Candy Kingdom from loneliness now sees herself as the evil that her subjects need protection from, even though he was talking about someone else. The ultimate judgment comes in hot diggity doom. The Candy Kingdom holds its first election, and Princess Bubblegum is supremely confident. After all, she's protected them for centuries. Surely they recognize her dedication. She loses. Badly. To the King of Ooh, an obvious con artist with literal wax for brains. The cruel irony hits her as she stares at the empty throne room. She made her subjects too unintelligent, too subjugated, to protect them from manipulation from another person. But in making them dumber so that they can always be happy, she also made them too naive to appreciate the genuine protection that she actually wanted to offer them. The people she'd spent centuries safeguarding chose a stranger over their creator, not because she failed to protect them, but because her protection had become indistinguishable from imprisonment. But the election is nothing compared to what she's already lost. In Varmints, Marceline finds Princess Bubblegum exiled to her uncle's cabin, and we see the personal cost of all that control. The graffiti tag in the abandoned mines tells the whole story. Marceline made me write this. It's evidence of a time when Princess Bubblegum could be spontaneous, when she let someone else have control, even over something as simple as vandalism.
Is that why you stopped talking to me?
The question lands like a physical blow, and Princess Bubblegum's answer reveals everything.
The Candy Kingdom used to be so small. Then it kept growing, and there was always some new disaster to prepare against.
She chose her kingdom over her closest relationship, chose duty over love, chose control over connection. When she finally breaks down, it's underground, literally surrounded by chaos that she can't manage. She thought everything would be okay if she just shut out everything besides work. Her skin takes on a more human tone during this confession too, the most authentic we've seen her in seasons. The surveillance state ruler strips away to reveal just a tired person who chose the wrong solution to an impossible problem for her. The episode ends with Princess Bubblegum finally allowing herself to be vulnerable, sleeping on Marceline's shoulder while Marceline keeps watch. It's a moment of connection. But it took losing her kingdom and her people's trust to get there. The princess who built the Candy Kingdom to cure her loneliness had to lose everything she'd built before she could remember what connection actually felt like. But what makes Princess Bubblegum's story much more than just a cautionary tale is that she actually changes in ways that might surprise you. The Stakes miniseries shows us a different Princess Bubblegum. When Marceline asks her to remove her vampirism, PB doesn't approach it as something she can just control and decide for Marcy. She's just there as a real friend.
This means someday you'll die. You know that, right?
I guess that'll be my last adventure.
Something that would have been impossible for surveillance-era PB. This continues throughout Stakes, where we see her collaborating instead of commanding. When the vampire threat emerges, she doesn't try to control the situation alone. She trusts others. She asks for help. She admits when she doesn't have answers. Most importantly, she fights alongside Marceline instead of trying to protect her from a distance. But the real transformation happens gradually, over seasons. Princess Bubblegum starts delegating actual power and steps back from the constant crisis management that had defined her rule. By the series finale, she's done something that surveillance-era PB could never imagine. She's relinquished control entirely. The princess who once monitored every citizen's bedroom has handed the kingdom to someone else. That leaves her cuddling with Marceline on a couch while Peppermint Butler reads nearby. The contrast is everything, from standing alone in the cold glow of surveillance monitors to curled up in the warm glow of someone she loves. She's fully living life now instead of watching it through screens. PB understands now that true security comes from trusting the people you love and letting them love you back. Princess Bubblegum's growth proves that even the deepest psychological patterns can change, but Adventure Time doesn't make it simple or quick either. Her transformation takes seasons. It requires losing almost everything she thought she was protecting and that she needed. Her relationship with Marceline becomes the real measure of her growth. Because loving someone means accepting that you can't control them. That connection requires the courage to risk loss and not having control. Does that mean PB was wrong throughout the series? Well, let's have a moment to look at that. We're talking about a post-apocalyptic world where literal evil walks around trying to end all life. So Princess Bubblegum's surveillance systems did save lives, multiple times. Her military preparations stopped invasions. Her scientific paranoia prevented genuine catastrophes. And her subjects? They really are that naive. The same election that removes her from power proves her point. They did choose an obvious con artist spouting transparent nonsense because he promises them easier lives. Sound familiar? Plus, look at her history. Born in a nuclear wasteland. Her first family tried to lobotomize her when she disagreed with them. She was literally possessed by ultimate evil. If anyone has earned the right to have some trust issues, it is Princess Bubblegum. Adventure Time shows us this complexity through its visuals. The Candy Kingdom looks like a children's fantasy, bright colors, friendly faces, literal gingerbread houses. But underneath, there's military infrastructure, surveillance networks, and some scientific laboratories. Princess Bubblegum's outfits kind of embody this duality. The traditional princess gown represents her genuine care for her people, but the lab coat she sometimes wears above it represents the calculating scientist who sometimes sees problems to be solved rather than relationships to be nurtured. Even the surveillance room serves dual purposes. Yes, it isolates her from genuine connection, but it also shows her watching over everyone, constantly vigilant, never resting. The monitors that imprison her are the same ones that keep everyone else safe. But here's the real kicker. Being right doesn't make you less alone either. All those legitimate threats, all that justified paranoia, all that successful protection, it still led to her standing in an empty throne room, rejected by the people she'd spent centuries safeguarding. The real tragedy of Princess Bubblegum isn't that she became a villain or anything, it's that she built her prison out of love. Every moment of isolation came from wanting to keep people safe. She created life because she was lonely, and in trying to protect that life, she ended up lonelier than when she started. PB's problem is that she spiraled too far. She obsessed over keeping everyone safe, taking control to extreme lengths. And that's what makes her story not just tragic, but terrifying. Because it shows how easily the things we can do from love can become indistinguishable from the things we do from fear. Her story resonates because we've all built smaller versions of her prison, right? The parent who monitors their child's every text message, the partner who checks up constantly to make sure you're safe and not doing anything unforward, the friend who gives advice but never just listens. We tell ourselves we're being protective, and maybe we are, but there's something to learn first. The thing Princess Bubblegum had to learn, and the thing that makes her transformation so powerful. It's that you can't control someone into loving you just like you can't control someone into staying. It takes her seasons to unlearn the patterns that trauma carved into her psyche. She has to lose her kingdom, face her people's rejection, and confront the loneliness that she'd been running from for centuries. So, when you're always struggling to control everyone and everything around you, it's good to take a step back, realize why you feel that need, and work on it. That's what you have to learn first. And if you want to know how you can work on discovering yourself, check out Lemon Hope's dark lesson about self-discovery. It might hold a truth you're not ready to face yet.